clear and concise. This is the Jason Bermas Show on today's News Talk, TNT.
We are now joined by Michael Oxford. He is the host of Calibased. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. Now, you kind of gained notoriety for daring to stand up to authoritarianism during the COVID-19 84 nightmare, refusing to wear a mask on a job site. Yet another study out there just proving there was no use for a mask just on the Omicron variant. Come on, it was across the board. It was laughable. It was cartoon level. So for those not familiar with that story, give us the condensed version of it.
Oh man, yeah, it was a while ago. So this is in February of 2023. I was on a job site that I'd been on for months, and all of a sudden they decided to impose a mask mandate. And I just, my partner that I was working with comes up to me, hands me a mask, said they got a mask mandate here, and I just jokingly said, "I will not comply." Foreman comes like running around the corner, freaking out, hands me a mask, and I just asked him, I was like, "Well, will I be kicked off the job site if I don't wear one?" And he goes into this big like 5-minute diatribe. And when he's done, I was just like, okay, what does that have to do with me wearing a mask? He immediately just walks away, calls my boss. My boss tells me to get off the job site, and I got fired the next day. And on my way home, I made a video about it. And the next day after that, I was on Tucker Carlson. So it's just been a whirlwind since then.
It did happen in rapid fashion, but I mean, by that point, any person, that wasn't just like totally brainwashed level, TDS, Fauci worshiping, carrying around the dolls, etc., realized that in 2023, masks probably not necessary. Now, once again, you kind of ingest just kind of, I will not comply. It's not like you were out there marching in 2020 or 2021, brother.
Right.
This happens. And this guy first of all, let people know what you do, because you are on the West Coast, kind of like in the pseudo entertainment industry. You're an AV guy, so you're on these different types of sets. That's the lunacy, because, I remember last year when Alex Jones started talking about masks again in California or in airports, etc. They really did try to make that push. That was a real thing. Most people like yourself said this is absolutely absurd, and you still got chastised for it. And quite frankly, you're kind of still paying the price.
I'm totally still paying the price. There's still tons of people wearing masks where I live. I live in Santa Cruz County, California, and there's tons of people still wearing masks. But the company that I worked for, we did residential audio video, but like really high-end stuff. And our clients, like a lot of our clients, who the names of them are. We had to sign non-disclosure agreements and everything. And I did on this particular job, so I can't say who the client's name is. You might know who he is. He's some big NFT guy. And this is, to put in perspective the type of work we were doing, this is a true 5-story home, 5 stories in Pacific Heights of San Francisco. So they got a rooftop deck that overlooks the Palace of Fine Arts, the Golden Gate Bridge, Chrissy Field. It's some of the most expensive real estate on earth. And that was the job site I was on. And San Francisco at the time, they decided that if you get 3 COVID cases on a job site, they're going to shut your job site down. So that's what started this whole thing. So it was a government thing. It wasn't like, they didn't want to do it, but yeah, that was the deal.
So let me get this straight. You had a mandate because of 3 COVID cases. Now, are there still forced testing on your job sites in California? Is that also a statewide thing?
No, I don't think so. I've been out of work since then. So I don't think they're still doing forced. Actually, what's funny? My buddy who works for a really large grocery chain, who actually gets paid really well, but he got sick, and they still have, up until I think April of 2025, they still have, if you have COVID, we're going to pay you COVID time off. So you doesn't have to come out of your sick pay. So he took a test and he was like, yep, I got COVID. And so they're still doing stuff like that till this day.
Well, all right, let's talk about that, because that's everywhere. A lot of people don't understand that in these budgets through that nightmare, they passed funding for the next decade under this base. It's really some of the most absurd insanity out there, despite what they're slow rolling out about the shots, about the virus in general. We're not getting any kind of criminal accountability. You've kind of gone in the other direction, right? You've become extremely vocal. I went through your Twitter feed today, and quite frankly, in the last 24 hours, I couldn't even go through all of them. You're on there, brother. Good for you for being in the battle. Yeah. But prior to this, where were you in all this? Because again, you are in a state that has a ton of absurdity, but at the same time, you are in Northern California, so you can go take a drive up to Sonoma, and I would say there's probably some clarity up there, up in the trees and the mountains. But how did you feel during this thing?
Oh, the whole time it was a nightmare. I was never going to take the vaccine. This is what made the mask thing so difficult. This is again February of 2023, and so we had just gotten past. Remember, Biden was trying to enforce all companies that have 100 employees or more have to take the vaccine. So I was freaking out this whole time. I was like, I'm going to get fired. I'm going to get fired because I'm refusing to take it. And then the Supreme Court stepped in, said no, even though state, they still said it was okay for hospitals and state employees to do it. But I thought we were past it. So all that stress went away. And then all of a sudden, just randomly out of nowhere, this job site pulls the mask thing. So I wasn't vocal and outspoken about stuff. I was on Twitter, but I had 400 followers at the time. So and I was anonymous. My sort of alter ego is the Santa Cruz Mountain Goat. I'm a trail runner and I live in the Santa Cruz Mountains. And that sort of just became my handle. And I was anonymous on Twitter. I just used that name. And then recently when I ran for office, I was like, well, my name's out there now. So I just put my whole name on there and I'm completely vocal. And I have a much larger account now. And apparently I have an IMDb, which is insane. So now employees or employers, people don't understand how insane people are out here. HR departments at companies in California are the wokest of the woke. They're the ones that do the hiring. They're the gatekeepers. What's the first thing a company does? Is they Google, and I'm not going to hide. I'm not going to hide who I am and all that stuff. So yeah, nobody will touch me. I've been an audio video guy for 18 years. I've never had a problem finding work. I used to get recruited by other companies. Hey, we'll pay you more. Come over and work with us. Never had an issue. It's kind of a niche trade. And now nobody will touch me.
So on one of those tweets, basically you had quite the diatribe about how people staying silent is why we're in the level of tyranny that we're in. I absolutely agree with that. I don't think that these are right or left issues that we're talking about. I think they're right and wrong. I do think that unfortunately the left has gone completely over the top cartoon level where, a lot of people end up gravitating towards the right. But let's be honest, the vast majority of politicians on both sides totally suck. I mean, or again, we wouldn't be anywhere near where we are. So what are some of the things that you tell people, they have to do? I mean, obviously you've put your face out there, you're being vocal, but they also look at you and kind of the punishment is the process. You can't find a job. You're actually a skilled, capable guy, and it's not a meritocracy. You're being punished for daring to stand up against the great narrative. So, I liked another one of your tweets. You're like, hey, I'll live in my car. And I say the same thing to people. You know what I mean? I've been doing the alternative media thing from documentaries to talk shows for years now. But I always say, look, if no one's going to hire me and I can't make money, I'll go shovel crap in the streets. I'll go be a janitor. I'll go run a bar again. I'll go flip pizzas. I'll do what it takes to survive. I'm not going to shut my mouth. I could never live with myself. And quite frankly, when people see the type of corruption, authoritarianism, and outright evil that we lived through in front of our face, I don't know how anybody could be a coward like that.
Well, I mean, California is actually Australia too. California, Canada, Australia. We're kind of the tip of the spear with this new Western authoritarianism. And it's a lot of it comes back to the whole cancel culture thing too. You got to have the right opinions and all that stuff. So I kind of get it why people are like, no, if I speak out, they'll come after me. And they think of it from an individual standpoint where if all of these aren't crazy off the wall ideas hey, they shouldn't be introducing sexual topics to kids in school. hey, people shouldn't be judged by the color of their skin. They shouldn't be judged by their vaccination status. These aren't like crazy abstract ideas. These are like pretty, would have always been middle of the road ideas. And now for some reason, you're like a far right conspiracy theorist if you vocalize these things, and they'll come after you. And it's like, well, look what they pushed you into. Look at this, the shadowy depths of whatever that you have to live in now because you're scared to vocalize just normal opinions because you don't want to get canceled. Everybody has these opinions. And if everybody just said, yeah, no, I don't agree with that, they can't fire everyone and things would come to a crashing halt.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they're planning on firing a lot of people after watching GPT-4, but that's just me. And at the same time, what really scares me about AI is the narrative management aspect of it. That's what people don't really understand. Right now, for instance, people want to say X or whatever is a free speech platform. I highly disagree. I think it's the best kid in a terrible neighborhood. But let's go to X right now and use it as an example. Anybody out there can go type in Trump into the search engine, and then X is going to give you what they aggregate most of the time. If we're in an election year, everybody, he's running for president. If this were 2020 or 2016, there would be a barrage of videos of Trump himself speaking at various speeches, even what's going on now in the trial. It would be him conducting his things. You can't find that. You got to go down 20 things to see what he said in the last 24 hours. Forget about pro-Trump memes. And I'm not even on the guy's side. Type in Biden. You will get, pro-Biden things down the line. You'll get mainstream media, MSNBC. If it's not the viral clip, it's not there. Try doing that on Facebook. The narrative management is extremely real. Look at Google, for instance. It's the technopoly of technopolies under Alphabet. Okay. Back in 2018, when Eric Schmidt had just given up the reins to Brin, again, our press didn't ask anything, but the BBC asked him about them developing Dragonfly, the censored internet in China, right? And he punted it. He goes, I don't know anything about it, even though I ran it. Brin, go talk to him. Whenever somebody says Chinese style internet, it's here. It's just censored internet. That's what we have. They have the #1 search engine in the world. They have the #2 search engine in the world, which is YouTube. And they have the #1 video platform in the world, which is highly aggregated and censored, YouTube as well. And that doesn't even get into Android, Chrome being the #1 operating systems in the world, etc. So we're here. Like you've literally almost got to go out on a soapbox. How are you combating that? Right? Like, obviously you're using X. Obviously there's some alt platforms out there, but you see the digital oppression.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to combat it. And we've been living in this for 10 years now. I mean, it's funny you mentioned the search, the search within X, and then you brought up Google and Hillary Clinton, because that's when I first noticed it. This was back in 2014. And I remember it was a joke because you'd start typing in Hillary Clinton to the Google search bar, and this is pre all the stuff you were just mentioning, and all that would come up is you type in Hillary Clinton, and it would come up with Hillary Clinton Benghazi, Hillary Clinton murders, like Hillary Clinton, and it was like the old school Wild West Google back in the day. And then I went to show somebody that like the very next day, and all of a sudden it was like, Hillary Clinton loves puppies. Why Hillary Clinton should be the next president? It was like, wait, what happened? Because it used to just be based on what people were clicking on. That's what the most popular, what would pop up when you started searching something would be the most popular things, the things that people were clicking on. Then all of a sudden they changed it around to, yeah, we're going to aggregate this data for you, and we're going to force what you want to, or what we want you to see. So I mean, how am I combating that? Just I speak loudly on X. I do my thing on Rumble, and I do my thing on YouTube. And my account's not big enough to have been nuked yet. So, it will be. Don't worry. One day. I mean, I had my YouTube taken from me 5 different times and got it back 5 different times by utilizing Twitter and shaming them there. That's actually what you have to do in order to get your YouTube back when they take it down. That shows you the bizarro world we're in. Another thing, you talked about aggregating data, right? And people are always like, the algorithm.
One of the cool things about Twitter was in the beginning, just like Facebook or MySpace when it was there was no algorithm. If you followed somebody or they were your friend, you actually got that in your feed. Nothing was held back, and it was in a timeline of that. So anytime someone says that to me about Twitter, I go, listen, it could do one thing tomorrow, and I would call it a free speech platform. You already drive people to the stupid following tab, or I'm sorry, the For You tab. But in the following tab, if you're smart enough to click it, which some of us are, I get everybody's tweets in sequence as they post them, and that's it. That's the algorithm. So everyone I'm following, I see everything. So I can go to 10 a.m. in the morning, and this is what they were saying about it. How hard would that be? It'd be very, very easy, but that's not what it's about. It's about narrative management all the way through. And even that narrative management of Elon Musk is some kind of hero as he builds the new spy satellite network for the United States government.
I was just talking about that.
For years, I'm glad you're talking about it. Musk has launched DARPA's Blackjack program, which is already their spy satellites, via SpaceX on ride-along programs with Starlink. And when you're talking hate and lie shots, the guy made more money during the COVID-19 84 nightmare than Brin, than Gates, than Buffett. A large part of that was that Tesla partnered with CureVac and built the micro factories that printed up the hate and lie shots themselves. We got a couple minutes left in the segment. What would you like to leave us with, Michael?
I guess I'll expand on what you said. Yeah, I feel like Elon's building a giant honeypot. I mean, the everything app, and he's sucking everybody in, but we'll see what it turns into.
Well, nothing looks good. I mean, again, I only mentioned just a handful of things that guy's involved in. Look at the Boring Company. Again, people in their bite-sized world are like, whoa, it's a flamethrower, coolest thing ever. No, he's building military underground facilities with not only our DOD, but then their corporate contractors. Are you insane? This guy is trying to put brain chips in people that are the technology of DARPA from decades ago. It's absolute absurdity. Where can people check out your stuff, brother, and support you?
I'm the SC Mountain Goat on Twitter, and my podcast is called Calibased, so on Rumble. Check it out.
All right, we hope to have you back on the broadcast. Michael Oxford, everybody. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to get into the second hour. We're going to lead it with the Assange decision. Again, Kim Staten on this very program got it right. They have punted the political football. The process is the punishment. More of the show after this. More TNT.